All the talk around Chapel Hill centers on quarterback Sam Howell, and for good reason, as the rising junior has played himself into being a legitimate Heisman candidate. With arguably the best quarterback in the nation already in place, some players are going to have to step up from Carolina's largely unproven, but what they believe to be is a talented wide receiver group, as De'Ami Brown and Daz Newsome accounted for over half of Howell's passing yards during his first 2 seasons. The only definite at the position for the Tar Heels seems to be Josh Downs manning the slot receiver spot. Mac Brown might have turned heads when he mentioned how Downs has looked great and how he's been UNC's best receiver up to this point, yet that doesn't come off as a surprise to me, as that's something I even heard at times last year. With a guy like Downs, the staff is getting him every rep possible this spring so he could get past the mark where things become instinctive. He had his breakout performance in the Orange Bowl with 4 catches for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's built off that momentum with a steady spring thus far. I also think this will be an important spring for a player like Anton Green, who enters his 4th season now at Carolina. Despite only playing a reserve-type role, it's easy to see why Green passes the initial eye test, as his size and speed combo is something all coaches are looking for. For him to take that next leap, the staff wants to see Green improve on his ability to finish plays. Last season, for example, he had just 4 catches and 1 drop. It's a small sample size, but when your opportunities are already limited, you have to capitalize on every chance you get, or the staff is just going to find somebody else who will. On the opposite end of that experience spectrum, it'll be worth keeping an eye on early enrollee J.J. Jones, who, according to the coaches, is already making plays. When you ask people what they like about Jones, the first thing they'll normally mention is how he plays longer than his listed height at 6'2". That'd be great for Sam Howell, who can already fit passes in the tightest of windows if Jones is able to snag catches away from his body, increasing that catch radius. Another encouraging attribute that gets linked with Jones is that he's described as having great hands, which, as you could imagine, is pretty important for the position. In 2019, Carolina receivers averaged a drop every 8.25 receptions. In 2020, they drastically improved, bringing that number all the way up to 13.5 catches per drop. Just last year, we saw a player like Emory Simmons get an increased role because of how dependable he was with 15 catches and 0 drops. If you could catch the ball consistently, you'll usually find your way onto the field. With Bo Corrales and Joffrey Brown out this spring, it's certainly possible for a player like Jones to come in and be a day one contributor, but the staff doesn't expect to know anything at the position definitive until spring ball is practically over. The consensus is that the potential is there and that the production will begin to separate a few from the bunch.